All right, cool. Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Quickstart webinar every single Thursday. Thanks to the Private Money Club, we host this webinar where we just practice the best practices of private money lending, fundamentals of private money lending. We share what's the latest and greatest with the Private Money Club platform. I am your host. My name is Noah Harris. You can call me Coach Noah. And we're here every Thursday. Jose, this is the 48th time that we've held this webinar, which is fantastic. We're approaching that big 5-0, and I can't wait to throw the 5-0 party. I don't know. We'll get the balloons out, a little champagne next time in 2 weeks when we do this webinar. But it's really cool. When we started doing this webinar, Stephen Nagy, Chris Naugle, and the founders of Private Money Club came to me and said, "Hey, we would like you to host a webinar." I said, "Okay, great. What's the objective?" And they said, "Just to teach people as much as we can, just to educate, just to let people know that this is an option. Where else can a person go and borrow all the money that they need to fund a renovation, to fund a rental property, a fix and flip project without having to go to the bank? Where else is that possible, right? Private money lending, right? And at the same time, where else could a person put their money to work and have it make double-digit rate of return and have those funds secured by real estate that's worth way more than the amount that they got in the deal, way more than their loan amount, right? That is private money lending, and that's why we love it. We love creating those win-win situations. So if you've ever seen me teach a class or host this webinar, you all know that I'm really big on making this sound very difficult. I love to make sure that everyone comes into these webinars knowing that not everything is going to be perfect. Not everything, is just because you lend money, it doesn't mean it's going to work out, right? It's up to the person lending the funds to do their due diligence, to make sure that you know what questions to ask, what to look for when you're analyzing a deal, how to secure your funds, right? We got to know these things. I love the idea of making a nice double digit rate of return, but if we don't have the right documents, how is it secured by the real estate? If we don't know what questions to ask in regards to the property itself, how do we even know if it's a good deal? If we don't know what questions to ask to the person that is presenting the opportunity to us, how do we know if this is a good person to lend to, right? And so these are some of the things that we talk about on these calls. It's all about education and making sure we're doing things the right way. And at the same token, I love to share case studies, but please understand that if I share a case study and say, "Hey, this is how it went," it's never going to be that way for anyone on this call. Real estate is unique. No deal is the same. No opportunity is the same. So it's really up to us to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and we're doing things the right way. And we're going to talk about this today. I think you're going to like what we have planned for you guys. We're going to hit some fundamentals today, but private money lending, real estate, yeah, absolutely, it can be risky. A big reason why I teach this class is because I've had friends that have come to me and said, "Hey, I lent money to someone and I haven't heard from them in a while." And it's really concerning. I say, "Oh, well, did you have this document, this document, this document?" "No, I didn't know I needed those things." "Okay. Did you ask these questions and these questions about the deal or about the person? Or did you ask to see this?" And they said, "I didn't even know that was something I should have done." Right. So it's our mission, Jose and I, to go out there and educate as much as we can to make sure we're doing this stuff the right way. And we have this mentality of rising tides raise all ships. And if we can educate the community of Private Money Club as much as we possibly can, it's just going to make the whole community itself that much better. So, all right, Jose says, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is." All right, Alexander says, "Good afternoon from Kansas City." All right, cool. What's up, man? Good to see everybody on here. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to hit this once we kind of get the ball rolling, but this is what our education piece. We're going to be talking about these what I call 7 steps to credibility, and we're going to be covering step number 1. And I'm going to be teaching a class. We just did the orientation for the train. We're doing a training. It starts January 27th. It's the next accelerator coaching program. We just did the orientation, and I believe there are some spots left because some people are rescheduling. So if you're interested in help along the way, talk to Jose and he can enroll you into our next accelerator class. But The very first thing that I'm going to be teaching our next group of accelerator coaching students is this slide right here. On Monday, we're going to be covering 7 steps to building credibility in a person's business. This is step number 1. And I think this is so important. Everyone should know this information. So I'm going to share it all with you here today on the Quickstart webinar call, which is awesome, right? Andrew, hey, Andrew says, I missed the orientation. Good news, Andrew. If you are signed up for the accelerator program and you missed the orientation is recorded. And I am going to have you participate and introduce yourself to the class on Monday or Wednesday, whenever you hop on for the first time. Right. So I got you. All right, cool. Little update. I'm a big believer in practicing what you preach. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there that do that teach real estate, but aren't as active. I'm not one of those people. My grandfather, I'll never forget when my grandfather was retiring, or as he was getting older. He was so funny. My grandfather, he would always say, don't worry, I'm still active. I'm still active. We'd always be like, hey, Poppy, how you doing? You feeling good? I'm still active. Don't worry about me. Right. He thought that was so funny. So whenever I hear someone say I'm an active real estate investor, I always think of my grandpa keeping things moving. So this is our latest deal. We actually just got this funded today. So 2 claps for me. How are you guys doing in your business? Anybody have a good closing? Anybody have a great meeting? Are you celebrating any wins this week? What's going on? I'd love to hear about any of your wins. Did you have good conversations with folks? Did you get a deal funded? Did you get your first interest check in the mail? What's going on? Talk to me, people. Did you get a property under contract since the last Thursday? And now you're putting your slides together to present it on Money Club Monday, right? I would love to hear what you guys got going on. I presented this deal on Money Club Monday 2 weeks ago, and we just funded today. We just closed on the property, and we're going to be adding this one to our rental portfolio, right? So just a little update. Still active, Jose. All right. So if you're hopping on for the first time, welcome. You can call me Coach Noah. My name's Noah Harris. I'm a real estate investor out of Columbia, South Carolina. My goal for every single person on these calls is to help you create a 100% track record with your borrowers and with your lenders. That's what it's all about, right? This is it. Sure, this is relationship based. This is relationship based lending. But at the end of the day, we're still looking at the assets. We're still asking the tough questions to the borrowers, right? But here's a bit of advice. If you want to be a great borrower, if you want to be great at borrowing money, be a great borrower. Okay. What does that mean? That's what we talk about on these calls. If you want to be great at lending, right, make sure you put your borrowers on a pedestal. You guys want to be great at borrowers or be great at borrowing, make sure you're putting your lenders on a pedestal. Like, how are you treating and cultivating your relationships? So how many of you have a goal this year to raise more money, to make more connections with private money lenders? Put I do in the chat box. How many, or maybe you have a deal right now that needs funding? Put I do in the chat box. Okay. I imagine it's everyone on this call. Like, we never stop looking for funding, right? I learned from one of my mentors a long time ago, like, okay, great. If you have someone that could fund your deal, go find 10 more people, because you never know when someone's going to say yes, or if their funds are working, or if they're going to say no. Right. So we're always looking, right? I love it. One of the things that I'm really starting to stress to my students, and, whether it's someone who's taking the accelerator course, again, we start the next one January 27th, or someone who is on these quick start webinars, it's all about the relationships and how many people you're talking to. So as real estate investors, I know, let me ask you guys a question. For all of my real estate investors on the call here, how many offers do you make on property before you hear one yes? Type it in the chat box. How many offers do you hear, or how many offers do you need to make before you hear that one yes? Do you track this? Am I the only weirdo that tracks this type of stuff? All right, Darren said 5 to 10. Clara said 10. Okay, Troy said 10, 5 to 10, 10. Patrick said 10 to 12. All right, I like it. I don't track. All right, start tracking, right? If all of your offers are getting accepted, what does that mean? Does anybody know? If all your offers are getting accepted, what does that mean? It's a good offer. You're too high. You're too high. Yeah. So when it comes to private money lending, here's what I'm telling folks. If you might only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different people in your life to help you fund your real estate deals, right? That's it. There's hundreds. There might even be thousands of people in Private Money Club, Jose. I'm not sure what the number is. We don't need them all, right? You might just need 5. So my advice to you is, in order to find those 5 relationships, we got to figure out how many conversations we're going to have, right? Get in Private Money Club, start networking, start scheduling time to talk with people to hear about their business models and things like this. And then now you have a plethora of choices. So if I've interviewed 20 different people to lend money to, now I'm not in a corner like, with just one person I've talked to. Well, is this person good? Do I like this person? Maybe. If you've interviewed 20 people, now you have 20 different people to choose from, and you're going to feel a lot better about the decisions that you're making. So I'm hoping this is kind of making sense here. It's just like making offers. You got to have conversations with people. You got to put yourself out there. If I were to ask William how many conversations William has on a weekly basis, William Nadal, I bet that number is pretty high, right? Maybe he's on, I think I saw his name on here because he's always looking. He's always looking, right? But you got to put yourself out there and start having these conversations. So, and if you feel as though you need help with this, enroll with our accelerator program. Next class starts Monday. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. But if you have any questions about taking a class, enrolling in something, Jose is the guy. Jose Harkin can help you get set up with a time to talk with him where he can walk you through how to get started on that. There's a little link that Jose just put in the chat box there that says go1sub.com/blueprint1. You click on that link, you can schedule some time with him and he can help you, or you can shoot him a message right now via text or give him a call. There's his phone number, right? So every single Thursday we start on time. We keep it real estate. There's a lot of different types of ways a person can make money. On this call here, we keep it real estate. Participation is encouraged. You guys are doing a fantastic job of that. If you have any questions on these webinars, you can type it in the chat box. Jose could probably help. But for me, it's difficult for me to see all of your questions in the chat box because lots of times it's moving so quickly. So I'll just ask that you put the questions in the question section on Zoom. And then at 1:30 and then at 2:00, we'll stop and answer some questions. We got the PMC team in the chat. Jose is there helping you guys out, and all experience levels are welcome. I'm looking at some of your names here in the chat box, and I can see some very experienced folks as well as some folks that might be brand new. Hey, if you're brand new to real estate, type brand new in the chat box. Type brand new in the chat box. I'm going to give you some really great content today for all of my folks, whether you're experienced or you're brand new. So be happy that you are on this call with us, because this is just a snippet of how I help people build credibility, especially if you're brand new in the business, which is awesome to see. So let's talk about this real quick. So, because Jose, we do have some new folks on here. So I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Type it in the chat box. What do you think of when you hear the term private lender? What do you think of when you hear the term private lender? Type in the chat box. And this is a good exercise too, because if you're new and you're going to people like friends, family, former coworkers, neighbors, and things like that, and then you say, hey, have you ever thought about being a private lender? They might not know exactly what context you're talking about here, right? They might think something different than what you're thinking. So let's talk about this. Let's see here. I got no bank involvement, flexible terms, flexible success, Paul says. Okay, I like it. Private investor, James says. Yeah, sure. John said hard money, no crazy bank interest, individual lending money. I like that. I like that, Justin. Great answer. Individual has plenty of cash to invest. Yeah, sure. Secure. Albert says leprechauns, like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah. So here, when we talk about, yeah, Kyle says, hey, private individuals with their own funds to lend. So, if you type private lender into Google, you're going to get a million results, right? And lots of those results are not necessarily going to be people. They might be more like funds or, but what we're the big difference here is that, a traditional bank like a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or something along those lines, they've got certain boxes that they've got to check when they're making decisions on whether or not to lend someone funds, because lots of times they turn right around and sell the note to somebody else, right? So it's a little bit different. When we use the term private lender, we're talking about a person. We're talking about an individual who is acting as the bank. And that individual, just like a bank would want, is going to want a mortgage that's or a deed of trust securing their loan against a piece of real estate. They're going to want the terms written in a promissory note. They're going to want to see insurance, right? They're going to want to make sure the title insurance is there and things like this, right? So a lot of the same actions and decisions that banks make, private lenders will make. But just like many of you said, this is a person. And who can be a private money lender? Anyone can be a private money lender. You do not have to be a millionaire to be a private money lender. I've had private money lenders that have started out with as little as $10,000 on deals that we've done over the years, right? That's not too common. And that might be a second position or whatever. I think that was a family member is trying to help out. But I've helped a lot of people with 30, 40, 50,000, right? In addition to the folks that have a whole lot more to put to work. So in my mind, who could become a private money lender? I think anyone could, right? As long as they're educated, they know what they're doing, and they have good people to lend their money to. So let's do a roll call here. All right. Let's do a roll call. Where are my borrowers at? So if you are on the call right now and you are looking for funding to fund your real estate deals, you're a borrower. Just type borrower in the chat box. Borrower in the chat box. Where are my borrowers at? All right. I love it. I love it. Here they come. Here they come. I love it. Aspiring lender, Troy says too, right? Borrower, borrower. Okay, cool. So they're all coming in here. I don't know if you guys can see how many people are on the call, but I can. And right now it says 95. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Borrower, and lender, right? I love it. So let's talk about this. Where are the lenders at? Where are the lenders at? If you're on the call and you're thinking about putting your money to work, having it secured by real estate that's worth more, type it in the chat box. Say lender, lender, lender. Cool. Is there anyone in here that's an inspiring lender? Like maybe you haven't done it yet, but that's the plan. That's why you're on these calls. You want to learn and make sure that you minimize your mistakes and make sure that you're doing things the right way. Anybody, an inspiring lender? And yeah, okay, cool. I love it. All right, cool. Yeah, that's what we do, right? That's what we do. And it's interesting here. Like if I talk to my friends or family or people that aren't in the private money club space, a lot of them know that I use private lenders to fund my real estate deals. And it's almost like, it's like this, it's like they don't believe me, right? Because outside of private money clubs, so many people will use hard money lenders or, more institutional type lending, maybe their own cash, things like this. And a lot of that, I think, comes from the fact that not a lot of people have ever asked a person for $500,000. Not a lot of people have asked a person for $100,000, 200,000, whatever the case may be, right? We're used to going to banks. We're used to going to companies, or, gosh, that's a lot of money. I'm just going to use my own cash. I don't want to pay interest and things like this, right? That's a lot of the mindset that's out there. So it's really cool to see so many lenders. And a lot of that has to do with this club, with this company. If you want to get access to people who are interested in lending, then we got to be in the private money club. If you want to get access to people who are real estate investors and you want to become a lender, you got to get in the private money club, right? So you're fishing in a good hole here, right? I remember Jose, I don't know about you, but I remember when I first got going, I mean, if we were talking about private money, I had to talk to all my friends, all my family. I had to go to real estate investor associations and I would do my elevator pitch and 100 times before someone was like interested in working with me. We had to kind of do it that way. Like your grandparents used to say, I used to go to school, I had to walk to school on 2 feet of snow or whatever. We had it hard back then. Now we got it a lot easier with the private money club, right, Jose? So it's good to see everyone in here. Here's what I would do. I'm going to share with you guys real quick something. I'm going to share with you what's going on in the private money club. So just bear with me real quick. I'm going to stop my share and then I'm going to pull up, because I like to do things live. Like I like, this morning when I hop on private money club and kind of take a look around, that's like what I like to teach about on these calls. So nothing is really planned. I like to kind of ad lib and kind of go with the flow here. So I'm going to share this with you. So if you're wondering, hey, what is private money club? How can I use it in my business? this is the platform. So Private Money Club is a community, but it's also a platform for people to learn and make connections. So check this out here. And Jose, if you could put the link in there so people can click on it and they can go and check it out on their own too, just to make it super easy, right? Yes, we made it easy. Yeah, that's exactly. So in Private Money Club, here's what I was checking out. So number one, it kind of has this thread here within different groups. So I'm in a bunch of different groups on Private Money Club, so I can network with different people who have different interests, right? But then if you have deals, there's a deal section here that you can check out, and you can kind of click on them and see what they're all about. But if you have a deal, you can post it here as well. And I'll kind of share with you what I do. I mean, what I've done. Like I just showed you a deal that we got funded here today. There was a little process that I went through, and I got 2 people interested in my project right away. And those 2 people, I ended up going with someone else. So it was 3 people who wanted to fund this project that I just put on Private Money Club here. But like you can click on this one. So I'm going to use this one as an example because I actually was on a call on Monday called, we do this weekly webinar. It's called Money Club Mondays. You can see over here on the side, you can click on there and register for it. But you can actually present your deals on Money Club Monday. So this deal was presented by Bob and Deirdre. And so they presented this project over Zoom to the community. And then they also posted the deal here under the deal section. And so whenever I'm ready to, if I'm interested in funding this deal, I can come over here, I can click message, I can type them a message, hey, I'm interested in funding your deal, or I can click here and do the same thing. And what's cool about their profile here, so this is their deal, but if I wanted to click on their profile, I can see information about them. I can see that they're premier members. That's what this little orange envelope is. So that kind of tells me, okay, they're serious. I can see that they've taken the lender class. They've also taken the borrower class. And they've done all of this in just a couple of months. So I can see that they're a member since November 9th. And they have a little bio about themselves. Here's their deals, right? They were at the Charlotte Motor Speedway when we did the Money Tank event. So she's, here's Deirdre saying hi to the Money Club. So this is cool. This is what's up. I'm like, all right, this makes sense, right? You can give them a follow if you want to make sure that you get notified when they post again. So it's about connecting, right? So imagine yourself posting your deals here and making these connections. So if I was on here and I was a lender and I was looking to put funds to work, the first thing I would do is I would come over and I would message this couple and I would say, okay, hey, tell me about what you guys got going on. I'm curious, right? And then again, how many conversations do we need to have before we find 1 or 2 people that we feel really good working with? And Private Money Club allows us to do that, which is super awesome. Jose, am I missing anything here? I feel like, that really kind of is a great example. I feel like Amanda says, what does a premier borrower mean? So it's more of a premier membership, right? So, okay, let me go back to my slides here and I'll share with you what I mean. All right, Amanda, hang on 1 second here. Premier or preferred, Rob says. Okay, yeah. So premier members, if you have a premier membership to Private Money Club, then you have different resources, different things that you can take advantage of, right? That's what that little orange envelope is. And then we also have a class. I'm trying to expand my slide here. We also have a couple classes that you can take. And once you've completed those classes, Private Money Club calls them certifications. There's a borrower certification class, a lender certification class. And it just shows that you've taken the time to go through some extra education within the platform. So if I was looking for someone to lend money to, I kind of want to make sure that they were a premier member because I feel like they're a little closer to the campfire. They're a little bit more active in the community. Not that that's a make or break, but it is something I would be more apt to click on, right? And then if I saw that they took the courses, that just kind of solidifying that they're serious about making the right impressions and building their credibility within the platform. I hope that makes sense. So I'm a big believer. I know Jose is too. Every single person on this call should be a member of Private Money Club one way or the other. Okay, so they actually allow people to have free memberships, complimentary memberships, and just to get your foot in the door, and you can look around and say, okay, is this something that I could see myself leveraging and using? Premier memberships have some more advantages in regards to posting so many deals and different things. Like there's some differences there. I would, create your profile and then you can kind of go through and see where some of those limitations are. But every single person on here should have a free membership, right? So if you are in Private Money Club, let me just see how we've got 90. How many people we got on here, Jose? 95. If you are a Premier member, type Premier in the chat box. Let's see how many Premier members we have on here. Oh, and by the way, if you're in Private Money Club, go find me. That's my profile right there. Right. So let's be friends on the platform. All right. Okay. So Anthony, Darren, Kevin, Annette, Jordan, all great people. All great people. Jordan Howard is an investor here right outside my market in Columbia, South Carolina. They live in Chapin, South Carolina. They actually run a real estate investment group called True North RIA, and just a fantastic investor. He's actually managing a project for us as a contractor on Lake Murray that after this call, I'm going over there today to kind of, do a walkthrough, and we're trying to get this house on the market. So if you're looking to connect, I don't know if Jordan's on here because he wants to lend or borrow, but shout out to Jordan Howard. That again is someone that I would want to have a conversation with. And I can say these things because I've met him, right? We've had the relationships. So again, this is all about relationships. If you're on the call and you're a lender, how many borrowers are you talking to find those one or two people that you need, and vice versa, right? All right, cool. So we got lots of Premier members on the call. How many free members do we have on the call? Or are you planning on becoming a free member, right? So if you're on here and you're like, hey, I'm looking to borrow, get in the club. Jose, I would put the link there so it's fresh for people. It takes, I don't know, 60 seconds to register. But here's some advice. I would not just create a profile and then leave it blank, right? If you're gonna do it right. Like you see, I got a picture of myself. I got a background photo. If you click on my profile, I filled out my bio, right? So you still want to make sure everything looks good, because think about it. If you post a deal on Private Money Club, but then your profile isn't filled out, you're gonna look like a bot. You're gonna look like a scam, right? So make sure you put everything in there, fill it out good. If you've got a website, put your website in there. If you've got handouts or PDFs of deals and things, like, put them in there, right? Make it credible. Credibility. I love it. James says free, but I'll be a Premier member soon. I love it. Free, new, looking to borrow. Courtney, that's awesome. And if you're looking to fund deals too, it's not very expensive. The investments, I don't know, it comes out to be a couple $100 a month if you add it all up, probably less than that. I don't know.
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. After all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action, like so many others have, by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
The way I look at it is, I used to use hard money lending for so long in my real estate investing business, and I would pay thousands of dollars in points. I think I added it up. I looked at the deals that I've done last year, and if I had used private lending versus what I paid, or if I had used hard money versus what I paid to my private money lenders, it was right around $60,000 a year in savings that I had versus so there's a hard money lending company I used to work with here in Columbia, and their standard is like let me rewind. There's a hard money lending company here in Columbia. I've never used them. I used to use a company I don't even know if they're still around, back when I was using hard money lending. The going rate is 13% and 3 points. So 3 percentage points in fees for whatever the loan amount is. Now I'm paying 10, 12%. Everyone's a little bit different, right? But if I were to add it all up versus what's happening now with my friends out there who aren't using private lenders versus what I'm doing with private money lending, the savings is astronomical. So I've got a slide on that somewhere. Maybe I'll show that next week. But here's what I would do. Does anyone have a deal right now and they're like, I got a deal, I need to get funding for this thing? Anybody have an idea right now, right? Or an idea? Anybody have a deal right now? So if you have, Simone has a deal. So here's what I would do. I would, number one, and this isn't guaranteed, right? But you got to be consistent. You got to, how would I get as many eyes on me and my opportunity as possible? That's what I'm talking about here, right? Number one, I'd create a profile. I'd fill it out. I'd fill out the bio. I'd make sure I had a picture in there, any good information about yourself and how long you've been in business or what you did before real estate or what you currently do for a living, right? I'd fill that out. And then I'd also email Stephen Nagy and make sure I'm hopping on the Money Club Monday webinar, which is it is for Premier members. That's probably the biggest difference, right, between free and Premier. And I would say, hey, Stephen, I want to present my deal. And then Stephen will bring you on Mondays, Money Club Monday, so you can present your deal. That gets recorded, uploaded, saved, and I would post my deal in Private Money Club, right? And at a minimum, I got to do those three things and and I would start reaching. Now you can go through the directory too and look at people who are lending and reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to schedule a call and things like this? But we got to have these three things set up first. So before you start going through the member directory and looking at who has what and who's open to lending, make sure you do these three things. All right. And then that's going to increase the likelihood of someone saying, hey, you know what? I'll pick up the phone. I'll hop on a Zoom with you. Let me hear about what you got going on in your business. Right. Which is cool. So we talked about this presentation slides. We've been doing this. This is what we talked about last week, talking about your market overview so that when you do have a chance to present within the community, you have some organization, you have some templates to kind of to go off of, right? Last thing you want to do is just get on there and say, hey, I've got a deal, but then not be able to articulate what that deal looks like, right? And that's one of the things that we do with our accelerator coaching students. I see a lot of, if you've taken my accelerator coaching class, just say hi in the chat box, or if you're currently registered for it. I love seeing the familiar names, right? Hey, Michael, how's it going? Right. And this is one of the things that we do. We help you present, we help you put your best foot forward. And I teach from the borrower's perspective as well as the lender's perspective. So on Mondays, we teach from a borrower's viewpoint. On Wednesdays, we teach from the lender's viewpoint. And I like, for whether your goal is to lend or borrow, it's important that you learn both sides of the coin, because if I want to be a great borrower, I got to know what's important to my lenders. And if I'm going to be a great lender, I got to know what's important to the borrowers, right? It's relationship based. And as I teach things about the borrower, like today, when we get into this credibility piece, I'm going to share with you, for my lenders, I hope I'm setting the bar, right? So as I teach people how to present and put their best foot forward to help get deals funded, I'm hoping that the lenders watch this and say, you know what? I want to make sure I'm working with people that are taking those extra steps to make sure that they're putting things together well for me, right? And for their lenders, right? So it's kind of a two-way street, and people seem to really like it, right? I appreciate that, Herbert. Thank you so much. Herbert, that message was sent to me. Not everybody could see it, but I'll read it for the class. Herbert Washington said a great text here. He said, best class, best coach, probably the best looking person at the Private Money Club. Thank you, Herbert. I appreciate that so much. No, I'm just kidding. He just had some positive feedback. So we're all about making a move. So we're going to get into some education here in just a moment. But if you're like, okay, I need, I want to make sure I'm taking action, like why people hop on this call repeatedly, I think is because we give them action steps and things to do. And then next week we give you more, right? So number one, if you're on here for the first time, here's my action step for you. Make a move, as Jose says, PMC profile, go create one, right? Once you create your profile, schedule a blueprint call, see how they can help you, get some expert advice and get a little expert tour of the platform by someone like Jose on the PMC team. If you are a Premier member and you haven't taken your certification courses yet, it comes with the Premier membership. So I don't know what we're waiting for. So I would want that little badge next to my name that really helps me stand out when people are looking through different profiles. So go do it. And then if you haven't done so already, you haven't taken the class yet, accelerator course starts January 27th. We start on Monday, right? We start on Monday, right? Questions, Jose is right there. You can text him right now with any questions. One of the big things that we work on these calls and in the accelerator program, really, Stephen Nagy calls them the 4 pillars: credibility, clarity, confidence, and community. Right. And so one of the things why I feel like people don't use private money lending as much as they would hard money lending or their own cash, a lots of times it comes down to their self concept and their self belief of like, well, who's going to lend to me? Like, I've never gone into I've never asked a person for this type of money before. Why would someone choose me? Right. And so so plan B is the bank. Right. And sometimes the path of least resistance is the path people take. It's hard to learn a new skill. It's hard to build new relationships, but my goodness, once you have them, there's no looking back, right? So today we're going to work on this credibility. And I think if you build your credibility and you have more clarity around how this works, the confidence comes. The community is already there. You got a bunch of people, you saw them. There's a bunch of people on here that are like, hey, I'm a lender, I'm a lender, I'm a lender. It doesn't mean they're going to lend to you, right? If it was that easy, all I'd have to do is just say, okay, where are my borrowers at? Where are my lenders at? You guys just connect with each other on the Zoom call here, and we're good to go, right? We got to make sure that we know what we're doing, how to present, and we got all our I's dotted and our T's crossed, right? So this is what we're gonna hit right now. We got 20 minutes. I don't think I have any questions in the Q&A. Yeah, we're good. So we're gonna keep rolling. So on Monday with the accelerator program, this is what we're going to hit within the first 5 minutes. So this is a sneak peek for you, Anthony. All right. We're going to talk about credibility. There's 7 different steps to building credibility, at least out of the gate, that we're going to cover. This one right here, number 1, is probably the most important. And this is something that everyone on the call can benefit from. All right. I know I asked this earlier. Many of you are brand new to real estate. Can you give me a little bit more feedback right now? Like, if you're brand new to real estate, can you type brand new in the chat box? And I promise I will make it worth your while. I'm going to give you some really good things to say. Okay. Simone says brand new. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So Simone's going to be my example. Okay. That you're going to be my example. So can I ask you, Simone, what you do for a living, or what your past career was if real estate's your new thing? Like, what's your background in? What's your background in, if you're comfortable? All right, surgical technician. And how long have you been a surgical technician, Simone? 4 years. Awesome. And I imagine you had some schooling to do that, I imagine, right? Some education. 4 years. All right, awesome. And how many surgeries would you say you've been a part of? I'm just curious. If you had to guess in the last 200. Okay, this is going to be fun, Jose. Okay. And so I'm getting this information here, and this is one of the exercises that I do with my accelerator students, because when it comes to credibility, I think sometimes people feel as though because they're brand new to real estate, they don't have the credibility that lenders want to see. And when you have that self-doubt, it creates your own stupid roadblock, and then you don't ever do anything, right? And this is the Quickstart webinar. It's not the don't ever do anything webinar, right? It's the accelerator program. It's not the sit and park and do nothing program, right, Jose? So here's what I want everyone to take from this lesson. No matter, when it comes to credibility, you can leverage the heck out of your past experiences. And I promise you, the same skill sets, the same mindset, and things like this that are in your current career or past career can transition right over into your real estate investing business. In fact, I think I would be willing to bet that Simone would probably be a better and more well-organized real estate investor than I am. 100. Whenever I hear what people do for a living, and I'm astonished. Like, if you're like me, I'm fascinated by what other people do for a living, the schooling that they had, what their daily life is like, what their careers and their jobs and their responsibilities. I'm just a real estate investor. I'm just, like, to me, it's like, low on the totem pole as far as importance of when it comes to community and service and things like this, right? So I'm fascinated by Simone, the surgical tech, who's been doing this for how many years? Let me go back up here. How many years was it? 4 years, over 200 surgeries that she's been a part of. That's awesome. All right. So just have that confidence going into these conversations. Okay. When it comes to real estate, here's what we need to do though. All right. So before you go and start having the conversations with the private money lenders, you need to build your team. Okay. And this isn't cemented in stone. This isn't, once you say this person's my real estate attorney, and it's going to be like that forever. But you got to figure out who you're going to start using in your real estate investing business. So when I first moved to South Carolina, probably 11 or 12 years ago, I felt really out of place. I'm from central New York. I grew up in South Florida, Columbia, South Carolina. I really felt like it was like this good old boy network. But my wife was here and we saw the opportunity to do well in the real estate market. So we planted our roots here, but I had to build relationships. I had to meet people. I had to gain credibility within my community. And the very first thing that I did is I went out and I found excellent team members. In real estate investing, what's cool is you're like a project manager, right? I don't pick up the hammers. I don't write the mortgages. I don't do the title searches. I don't really crawl under houses and see if there's termite damage. I'm not doing my books. I'm none of these things. I hire the right people to do these things, right? So, but your credibility is only as good as your team's. So what I did is I went out and I found the best real estate attorney in our area. And by best, here's what I mean. People knew them. They had good reviews. They gave back to the community. It was a bigger firm, right? Maybe I paid a little bit more. So what? Everyone liked the person. You following me? And maybe in your state you use a title company, same process. And if you need help with this, get on Google and see what comes up, right? Best real estate closing attorney in Charleston, South Carolina, right? What comes up? Pick them, right? Pick up the phone, have a conversation. Do they treat you good? Do they do a good customer service, right? Okay, let's start with them. And we're just going down the list. Best real estate agent, right? Are you working with a top 1% agent in the neighborhood where you're going to be investing in houses? Or are you the agent? Or is your friend an agent that also works something out? Like, I want the top 1%. I was a real estate agent for a long time. I didn't even hire myself because I wasn't the top 1%. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. Same thing with the general contractors, right? Are you hiring the Jordan Howards of general contractors who has it together, and people in the permit office know them, and they've got their beautiful sign in the yard with their face, and everything looks extremely professional? Or are you hiring the contractor who shows up in the rusted out minivan with hamburger wrappers all over their dashboard? You following me here? You got to go with the best, right? Home inspector. We went out, we found the absolute best home inspector, the home inspector that all the real estate agents hated because they found everything wrong. They were a pain in the butt to work with, right? That's who we want on our team. We went out, we have a real insurance agent that specializes in rehab properties, accountant, financial advisors, bookkeepers, right? Things, all of these things. Okay. And here's my point, Simone. I hope you're still on. I hope you're still listening. If you are, give me a big, oh yeah, let me know you're still there. Okay. All right, cool. So I see your question. Let me finish this thought first. Okay. So what I would do if here's the thing, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Someone is going to ask you, how many deals have you done? Right? You're gonna hit them up on Private Money Club, and they're gonna say, hey, look, this seems great. What's your experience? How many deals have you done? And at that point, what do you tell them? How do you answer that? If you're brand new, what do you say? Right? And we never want to lie. We never want to mislead, right? We got to be honest. So here's how you're going to make your life easy by doing all of this work up front in the beginning. For everyone that's here, that's on here and brand new, and my experienced investors, you should be doing this exercise as well, right? Because the lenders don't know you. If you're working with a new lender, they don't know you. They don't, you've done 100 deals, great. Tell me about your team. I still want to take you through the whole process to find out who, how credible your group is. Are you going to be able to finish the project and get me my money back? So here's what I might say. I might say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, here's the deal. For the last 4 years, I've been a surgical tech. I've been a part of over 200 operations, and I love my career. I'm very passionate about it, but I'm also very passionate about real estate and building my legacy in that business as well. And what I found is the same skill sets that I can take from 4 years of being in the operating room, I can make those same precise decisions in real estate investing, and I've got a great team to help me do it. You following me? All right. So then I'm going to come in and say, before I even had this conversation with you, I've went out and I have the absolute best real estate attorney in town. So and so, such company. You can look them up. I've got the absolute best real estate agent. She's a top 1% agent in the neighborhood where we're going to be focusing our marketing and our investment properties. Our general contractor, family owned business, has been doing this a real long time, so on and so forth. And I'm just going down the list, right? So I say, so well, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, well, I am experienced in the real world. I am relatively new to real estate. However, my team has over 100 years of real estate investing experience. Now, that might not seal the deal. Okay. They might not look at you and say, okay, well, yeah, do I make the check out to you? But what they are going to say is, wow, that's great. I'm still listening, right? I can't wait. I can't wait to hear about the opportunity that you're presenting to me, right? You should feel so much better about lending to that person because they've taken the time to build out their team, right? And in real estate, this is a team sport. This is not an individual sport, and every single real estate investor is only as good as their team. So if I'm listening to this call and I'm a lender, I would be wanting to know, hey, tell me about your real estate attorney. Tell me about your real estate agent. Tell me about your contractor that's going to be doing the work, right? I would be asking them about their team. And if they can't brag about their team, or they don't have the contractors lined up that are going to be doing the work, that's a notch. It's a yellow flag. Okay. It's not a green light, right? One of the biggest things that I see problem wise with in private money lending on fix and flip projects is investors get so caught up on trying to get the funding that they forget to plan out their renovation, plan out their rehab. And good contractors don't start tomorrow, right? Like, good contractors are busy because they're good. The people that can start tomorrow usually aren't that good, right? If there's no pre-existing relationship. So I want to know, hey, who's going to be running this project? Tell me about that person. Who's the real estate agent? And if they're like, well, we don't have an agent yet, but we looked on Zillow, and they're just not ready. They're just not ready. They're just not prepared, right? I hope this makes a little bit of sense here, right? So this is one of the things we're going to be teaching for you guys that are on the call on our Monday Accelerator Coaching Program call. This is step one, right? Building your team. And so I have this whole spreadsheet here, and in the spreadsheet, it says the team member, what their role is, how they help people, right? How long they've been doing this, and why other people choose to work with them. And the idea here is you fill all of this out. And gosh, you know what? I have some of my accelerator students, they fill out this sheet. And then when a lender asks them about their team, they send them the sheet. And they're like, wow, this is pretty impressive, right? No one's ever done this before, right? Which is pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna hit. If you got any questions about this, type them in the Q&A section here. I see a couple things in the chat box here. I want to invest in other people's business for short-term profit and grow, and I know a bunch I build relationships with. All right, more like a connector. Well, yeah. So I hope what I'm saying here is still the same, right? So if you're a real estate investor, no matter what you do for a living, you still need to focus and build out your team, right? And if you're gonna, and it even worse, if you're being the connector, you better make sure the people that you're connecting have this set up, right? You don't want to be responsible for introducing someone to someone else and that person doesn't have their act together, right? So we got to make sure that everything is in order, right? I love watching the show Shark Tank, and it was interesting. They had this thing, like, all those sharks on Shark Tank, like, they can sniff out if someone's full of crap or not. So when they start asking the tough questions, it's either makes or breaks the deal, right? And lots of times on the TV show, you don't necessarily see what happens next. Like, I saw this episode of Shark Tank where they were saying, Mark Cuban was on there saying that, gosh, I don't want to misquote him, but there's a large percentage of the deals don't actually go through from Shark Tank because when they pull back the curtain, this is what's lacking, right? And things aren't as great as they might have made it seem, right? And so my job as a coach, one of the things I love to do is just say, hey, how do we dig into this to make sure things are as they seem, right? And this is one of the ways that you do it. So make sure that you are handling this up front, it's just going to make everyone's life so much easier, right? Is this good stuff? Is this good stuff? All right, love it, love it, love it. Let's see. I'm going to share this with you guys real quick here too, because someone sent me a deal. I'm not going to name names, but someone sent me a deal, and they said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And the person, and I was like, "Okay, well, send me what you got." And they were the lender, right? So a borrower was sending a package, if you want to even call it that, to them to see if they would be interested in funding a project. Okay. And it was very attractive interest. It was something stupid. It was well over 20%. I think if you're paying over 20%, by the way, that there's something wrong. And maybe there isn't. Like maybe you start out your headline with "There's nothing wrong. I know I'm crazy." Right. But I promise, when I see someone paying that much interest, I think there's something wrong. It's a red flag. I don't think you have to pay that much. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, Jose. I don't know. But this was a very attractive deal because of the high percentage that the borrower was paying. But when they sent over their package, it was like 8 photographs of the house and then a promissory note already filled out and a mortgage already filled out with the lender's name on everything. So like, here's some photos, just go ahead and sign, right? And we use an attorney, so everything's good. Hey, just because an attorney's involved doesn't make it a good deal, right? So what we like to see, you guys want to increase a person's, if a person wants to increase their odds of getting a deal funded, make sure you gather all the information that you need for whether it's going to make a lender feel good about doing business with you, right? So take a snapshot of this, take a photo of this or whatever, but like this is what should be readily available if someone clicks on your deal wanting to learn more. If they send you a message saying, "Hey, I'm interested," boom, 30 seconds later you're sending them all of this stuff. Okay? Because how a person presents the deal is going to foreshadow what it's going to look like working with that person. So if they don't give you any information, good luck getting any information once you've wired the funds on how that rehab's going. All right. So the more professional they are up front, it should transition and translate into better experience during the time with which they have your funds, and probably I would be willing to say probably increases the odds of getting them back. All right. So this is just a start here. And then I shared this with some students here today earlier. And then, this is no brainer. What makes real estate great? Private money lending great? Well, it's the mortgage or deed of trust that secures the funds against the property. Promissory note, personal guarantee, lender's title policy. Get a copy of the settlement statement showing you your information on there, right? Are you a first position? Are you a second position? If you're second position, are you okay with being in second position? Right? Nothing's wrong with second. My wife said it best. I was talking to Christy about first and second positions, and she's like, "Nothing's wrong with second positions as long as you're lending to someone good, right?" The hard part is, how do you find out if you're lending to someone good? Well, you're making sure you're getting all of these things, right? One of the biggest things that I would say to hit, and Jose, I know I'm teaching a lot here, but this is really important. One of the biggest things I would want to see history. I want to see your record. I want to see your report card. So if you have rental properties now, great. What are the addresses? What are the rents? If you've done 10 flips, great. Send me the addresses of those 10 flips. I want to see what you bought them for, when you bought it, how long did it take for you to sell it, right? I want to see what it's going to look like, because this is what it's going to look like for me working with you in this business. So let me look into the crystal ball a little bit here, right? Is the mortgage being recorded? Is there equity in the deal, right? What makes it great? We lend here, the property's worth this. So we got to make sure that there's equity in there in case something goes sideways. What's your plan for project updates? Are you talking about this in advance with people? Hey, how